Hey everybody, it's Charlie from Daily Motor, and I've been spending the last week with the 2024 Honda Pilot. We drove a 2023 model last year, but that was the Trail Sport edition, so it had a little bit more of an off-road setup, louder tires, and it was a trim level that didn't make a lot of sense to me because you were missing out on a lot of the interior goodies that you can get with a higher trim like this black edition here, but yet gaining something that I didn't think many people were going to actually use here in the real world. This one, however, I've liked quite a bit more, and part of the reason I asked for it was to review the 12-speaker Bose sound system that you can get in this black edition, which is at the top, as well as the Elite and the Touring trim. So if you do want to see that, check the link below for that dedicated review. But in this video, I'm going to go over my pros and cons after spending a week with the car, and at the end of the video, put it on the Daily Motor leaderboard, which is going to be interesting because on some videos I go into and I have an idea of where a car is going to lie before I actually rank it. This one, I don't know, it's going to be a little bit more interesting to see where it comes out because I have quite liked my time with the Pilot. So much so that my cons with the Pilot are actually fairly benign. They might come off as a little bit pedantic because I do think Honda got quite a lot right with this car, but that doesn't mean everything is perfect. So let's hop on in here and actually twist the car around to get the interior out of the shade a little bit and talk about my first con. A little bit of a greeting there from the infotainment system and the digital gauge cluster. Swinging the car around, and we do get to my very first con with the Pilot, and that is, this is the top level trim. It's essentially an Elite, or the special black edition, which is just an Elite with different styling. But look at the size of the screen in here. If I'm not mistaken, this is a 9-inch touchscreen infotainment system. And not only is it smaller than a lot of its competition, it's also irksome that this Honda Pilot, being Honda's flagship model essentially in pricing, doesn't get as good of an infotainment system as the Accord, which gets an awesome Android Automotive based system that's got Google Assistant built in and works really, really well. It's very responsive. This Pilot, despite being entirely refreshed for 2023, gets a fairly basic and not very impressive infotainment system. Fortunately, it does at least have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but kind of just tacked on here. Not looking very large. Let's see if we can bring up Android Auto right now. That's another thing, is it hasn't been auto-connecting to my device throughout the week, and I don't know if that's a phone problem or a vehicle problem or what, but looks like we're not even getting our Android Auto to come up right now anyway. So, haven't been super impressed with the infotainment system. Digital gauge cluster works fine. I mean, it gets you the information you need, but I would like to see more going on here. Okay, now, after all that time, we do finally have wireless Android Auto coming up, and you can see it works well enough. If I bring up Google Maps, full screen, can move it around. Good responsiveness, good functionality. I appreciate these physical controls, but would like to see more from the infotainment. My next con, again, quite petty, but this is the sound with the fan off. And then this is the sound with the fan on. It's too loud. I actually had a similar complaint in the Acura MDX, which, to be fair, much, much worse than the MDX, because that was an $80,000 vehicle. This is a $52,000 vehicle. But I am of the opinion that when fan speed is on level 1, you should not be able to hear your HVAC. It should just be a very small, light amount of air kind of blowing into the cabin. And then, once you turn it up, then yeah, of course, you're going to want to hear the air blowing on you. And this can blow quite hard. But at fan speed 1, I shouldn't even be able to hear it, especially without recirc on. I can even shut off the rear, and you still hear it. I can shut off the AC, and you still hear it. It's fairly dramatic, and I'd like to hear less from the fan speed. Next, this 10-speed automatic transmission has been disappointingly unsmooth throughout my entire time with the vehicle. If you don't accelerate just right, just properly, letting the vehicle roll out just in one certain way, there's a jerkiness from stop with this car that it ruins the entire experience of the vehicle. On one hand, it does feel robust, as a lot of people have come to expect from these larger Honda V6 vehicles, but at the end of the day, this is a family hauler, and it's disappointing that we're getting rough shifts. It's not even really a rough shift. There's just something between the departure from a stop, and occasionally the shift from first and second as well, that isn't nearly as smooth as it should be. I'll try to see if we can get it to happen at some of these stop signs. Thinking about it more, it's not only the transmission, it's the throttle application as well. I actually went through the drive modes looking for some sort of comfort setting instead of normal for the drive mode, because you'll find the vehicle accelerating too dramatically with just the slightest bit of throttle application right there. I mean, that was just a little tiny bit on the gas pedal, and yet it's yanking itself away. Next, no electrification option. Now, I fully understand that there is an appeal to having such a straightforward powertrain in this naturally aspirated 3.5 liter V6. And despite it being a few more gears than some people would want, you do have a conventional transmission in here as well. You're not dealing with something like a CVT. However, if you're someone who's schlepping around family in a lot of city driving application, a lot of child pickups, a lot of grocery store runs, a lot of stop and go, you're going to see huge benefits from getting something that has at least hybrid as an option. Even if it were just a 48 volt mild hybrid type system, you're going to see a lot more smoothness in the driving character. You're going to see improvements in fuel economy. And for what this vehicle is, I've been getting mid to low 20s in fuel economy, and that's not terrible given its utility. But as more and more other manufacturers are offering some degree of hybridization, Honda's going to get more and more lost in the crowds if it can't stand out and provide some degree of that as well. I'm not saying it's got to be a PHEV or full electric, but just give us some sort of strong, useful, in the real world sort of basic hybrid, and that's going to go a long way into helping the efficiency of this larger vehicle. And lastly, for my fifth con, it's just kind of boring. There's, again, that's going to be a huge appeal to some people, but the Honda Pilot to me is the trademark vehicle of some family who knows exactly what they want. They buy a car that's going to be bulletproof and trouble-free for not only years, but generations. I mean, there are many people I know who get the hand-me-down Honda from their parents that they had since they were a young child, and it just simply works. And I can't blame those people for wanting that if that's what you're shopping for. But you have to understand the trade-off then in getting this robust and straightforward powertrain and build quality and all this development is that you're going to be missing out on some of the cutting-edge technology and feature set that you might find in some other competitors at similar price points. There's not much remarkable or exciting about being in, driving, or purchasing a Honda Pilot. And to some people, that's an appeal, but you gotta admit that there are other more exciting ways to transport you and your family here in 2024. Getting into the pros for the Honda Pilot, and for that we are back here in static, looking around the interior, starting right up front here at the steering wheel. It's a combination between the physical controls inside this cabin, as well as the simplicity and humanality and common sense that there is in the design and the functionality of everything inside and outside this vehicle. You'd be amazed with how many cars I drive week in and week out that just going through daily use with them, whether it's adjusting volume or getting in and out of the vehicle, maybe locking the car, interacting with it in some way, you stop and scratch your head and you think, how did this get through into production? How did no one throughout the development process of this vehicle stop and go, you know what, this is really frustrating, we should fix this? I haven't had any of those instances here with the Pilot. In fact, I've noticed a lot that I've appreciated, such as the inclusion of proxy key on the rear doors. That's huge, because if you're coming up with this car and you've got a car seat in your hand or a backpack or something, and you come up and it's locked, you want to put your hand on this rear door so that you can get in and put something in the back, and it'll unlock. And then furthermore, if maybe you're getting something out of here afterwards, say you shut down the vehicle and you get your baby out of the car, you want to be able to come out and just touch that and lock it and walk away. Now it's not locking right now because the vehicle's still on, but that is huge. And I was just in a vehicle, it was the Hyundai Santa Fe, another $50,000, a little bit smaller, but 3-row family crossover, and no rear proxy key in the back. So things like that, things like getting in here and again, seeing all of your physical controls right here. And not only are they physical, but they feel nice. Listen to this. I mean, that is a nice button right there. It's easier to change the volume in this car than it was in the Mercedes E-Class that I had a few weeks ago. Then listen to these. I mean, that's good, solid construction right there. Very straightforward shift buttons, big cup holders that I could fit. I mean, this is a 32-ounce water bottle, and it's fitting in there with wiggle room, but yet the feet are holding it in tight. Big center console, easy controls for things like the sunroof shade. What else? Oh, this is really minor, but in the rear, they've got little cell phone holders within the rear seat pockets there. Things like this center seat right here folding into a big center console area that you can put cups and other things. Oh, and then another thing, getting into the back. This is a family vehicle after all. Look how easy it is to fold the third row seat, or second row seats, and get into the rear. Right here, this button, down here, or back here. One press. Check that out. No powered elements to brake, go bad or anything like that, except for, I guess, the button. And then I'm in here into the back. And then you simply click, click. So easy, well thought out, and straightforward. And when you really think about it, that efficiency in engineering and satisfaction, how well everything works, you know that goes further into the Honda DNA, and that's going to go into all of the bits you can't see with the vehicle. The engine, the transmission, the drivetrain components. You know that there is an intelligence behind the engineering because you can see it and feel it and interact with it inside the vehicle. Next, earlier in the video, I talked about the lack of electrification for this powertrain being a downside. However, there is also a strong appeal to driving a larger vehicle around that has a straightforward, naturally aspirated, well-known, and hardy V6 engine. As we'll see here when we accelerate up onto the highway, it's a pleasurable motor to listen to interact with. If you're doing any towing, you know that it's got the power you need up high. It's going to be reliable, easy to maintain, regular gasoline needed, and very familiar for any sort of mechanic or repair person, parts network, anything. This 3.5 liter is one of the most known quantities in the automotive world. It just works. It really does. I've never had a problem with the 3.5 liter here in the Hondas, and it's nice to have it around when so many other manufacturers are turning to smaller turbocharged engine options. My next pro comes from the packaging here with the Honda Pilot, and this extends to all Hondas. They rarely, if ever, have any sort of packages on them. There's only trim levels. So you can get the base LX, which I don't really recommend, because for just a few thousand more you get up into an EXL, which has pretty much all your gotta have in order to feel like you're driving a modern vehicle here in 2024 features. And then you've got the Touring above that, which in my eyes gives you, okay, these are all the features you need to feel like you're getting an upgraded product. And then you've got the Elite, which are just, okay, I want a Honda Pilot and money is no option. Give me that sort of feature set. It's nice knowing that you don't have to choose any weird sort of individual package or kind of weird configuration to get a certain feature or not. You just pick the trim level, pick your color. You can add some dealer accessories, yeah, but other than that, that's the vehicle you're getting from Honda. And I like that. And that bleeds into my last pro, and it's just Honda. I've been driving so many cars for so many years, and here near the end of 2024, I've been thinking to myself, what are some of the best manufacturers right now? Because Toyota has been seeing a market drop in value and reliability with some of their newer products, and you feel the cost cutting in more of their cars, especially on the Lexus side. It's not to say that newer Toyotas aren't still good, but they're not necessarily the gold standard that they used to be, like that Camry right here in front of us. And I was thinking to myself, okay, well, what manufacturer is there that really exudes a quality to them in terms of the fit and finish and the feel inside their vehicles? And it's Honda. Honda, that's not to say they're not exempt from cost cutting, but to me, the cost cutting that we've seen from them in the last few years is a more honest cost cutting. It's getting into something like an Accord and having a rubber steering wheel and a rubber shift knob and me going, oh man, this feels terrible. But at least it's honest. At least it's showing, okay, we had to cut costs somewhere because of various economic factors. Here is where we're cutting costs. With other manufacturers, I get the feeling that, okay, yes, we know they cut costs, but we don't exactly know where, because the interior still feels nice, but they had to cut costs somewhere. I am continually, thoroughly satisfied with every Honda vehicle I drive, and with every interaction that I have with a Honda dealership or with the Honda build configurator or website, or like the packaging like I talked about earlier. It's a straightforward brand, and you know that you're getting straightforward build quality and reliability throughout their product lineup. As I was saying earlier, there are people who buy Honda Pilots and hold on to them for generations because they know that they're just going to work. And with basic, straightforward maintenance, that's what they're getting. And that's what you get here with the Pilot. That's something really desirable to me, and something you're finding from fewer and fewer manufacturers. I mean, I'm looking around right now. That Kia Telluride, I don't know if that's going to last past its 100,000 mile powertrain warranty. That Toyota Sienna way over there, that's going to keep on ticking for a long time, because that's almost a 20-year-old car at this point. That BMW X5, yeah, good luck. Oh, here's an E60 next to us as well. I'm surprised that's even still on the road. There's a GMC Yukon sitting over there that probably cost about $95,000, and is it going to have lifter issues at 80,000 miles? There's a decent chance. So despite the Pilot not being the most interesting car in this segment, and despite it missing out on features and powertrain efficiencies that a lot of competitors have, you know that the Pilot is simply going to work, and it's going to work the same here in 2024 as it most likely will in 2034 and in 2044 with basic and straightforward maintenance. And while it might not have every little bit of tech feature and functionality that some of its competitors have, everything that it does have works, and it works really, really well. And there's a lot of appeal in that. So yes, there is the Honda Pilot Trail Sport that we drove last year, and it's fine if you find yourself in the very small subset of people who are actually taking their Pilots regularly off-road, but not too hardcore off-road, just a little bit off-road, and you want a little bit of that extra protection and suspension tuning in the tires. Okay, great. I'm glad that Honda offers it. But in this more pedestrian sort of trim, the Pilot really does start to show its merits. And with that, we've got to put the Pilot on the Daily Motor leaderboard. The 40th car to make it on the Daily Motor leaderboard for 2024, current leaders Hyundai Santa Fe, Kia EV9, and Ford F-150. The only reason that the Pilot isn't going to make it right up near the top is because it is a bit more limited in who and why you'd purchase this vehicle. Because, I mean, realistically, if you don't have multiple kids, why are you getting a Pilot? And if you have multiple kids and they're younger, you probably want to consider an Odyssey. And if you only have one or two kids, you've got the Honda Passport. So it's not to say the Pilot isn't quite good, it's just a little bit more limited than some of the cars near the top. But I know where it's going. I see it right here. We're moving right up to 9th place in front of the Genesis GV80 and below the Mazda 3. Very good car. A car that is going to work well for many people, has lots of appeal, built very, very well, and maybe with a little bit more of creativity in the powertrain department, could be one of the best cars on the market here today. So thank you all so much for watching. If you do want to see more on the Pilot, check the link below for our review on the Trail Sport model, as well as our reviews for both sound systems, the 9-speaker and the 12-speaker Bose, and we've got a little infotainment breakdown on this as well. And we'll see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and as always, drive on.